local organization is set out to revive a forgotten part of South Omaha's immigration history by building a brand new museum. 6 News reporter Johan Marin spent time today previewing the museum and actually spoke to one of the curators behind the effort. Johan, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dave. It will be called the South Omaha Immigration Museum and will present South Omaha's nickname, the Magic City. Building seemingly popped out of nowhere in the late 1800s as a meatpacking hub drew thousands of immigrants across the world. The influx of diverse people gave birth to many of the small businesses you see today. On South 24th Street, that hold a variety of Mexican, Polish, and Lithuanian cultures. The first exhibit is called The Smell of Money, and it will highlight the stories of past and current immigrant meatpacking workers. Jose Francisco Garcia, one of the curators, says now is the time to continue to build history for immigrants, especially the youth.
If we do not show them their roots, if we do not amplify what made their parents and their ancestors important to an urban setting, to a cultural setting, to even a religious and a civic setting, we haven't done our job.
The museum will open various exhibits throughout the year that features the history of baseball, Hispanic Heritage Month, and Dia de los Muertos. The museum itself will officially open in April. I'll have more details on that at 5. Live in the newsroom, Johan Marin, 6 News.